Hello again, everybody. It's Karen Matzo again from Demonstrated Success. And I am happy to present Ann Mordecai to you today,
Hello.
who will be doing this webinar. She is our math and assessment specialist and our assessment director at Demonstrated Success. And today she is going to talk to you about your 2019 New Hampshire SAS results. Matt, what else can I tell them about you?
Nothing.
Okay.
Unless you can ask questions if you have questions.
Anne is a data whiz. She's great with Excel. She's great with all things math. And she's amazing with data. So if you
I've been using the SAS reports pretty extensively lately.
And consistently. So what else can I tell you on the panel? There's a place to ask questions, and we would ask that you write in your questions, and I'll be monitoring them, and then I will interrupt Anne and ask your questions for you. You're all on mute right now because it staves away the chaos of noise, and this is the webinar is recorded, and it can be found in our resources and discussion site. And also there are 5 handouts attached that you can also see in your navigation plane or your control panel and under handouts, and it says 5. I think that's about it. If you have any questions or you, for some reason, want us to unmute you, you can raise your hand. And I hope that you're looking forward to the webinar.
Okay, welcome. Today we are going to talk about the SAS results, the 2019 results. They are not that different from the 2018 results, but they're a little bit different. And that's what we're going to talk about, not just the differences, but everything. So please, if you have questions, ask them as they come up. But if there's some questions that are on your mind right now, just submit them and we'll make sure that they are covered. This is the order we're going to do things: introduction and warm up, whatever that is when you're online. We're going to talk about the structure of the SAS results or the data, and then tools to use to view the results, protocol to look at the data, some protocols that we use for data dives, we call them, and some examples of where to start to use the data to inform instruction. So I've had to put this on here or I would have forgotten. I'm going to give you a little poll. I want to know who's attending here. So you should, let me see. There should be a poll popping up in front of you. And we can see. So if you could answer those, choose what your role is. We just want to know who's here. Oh, here was building administrators are 76%. Math, ELA, and curriculum specialists are getting up there. Classroom teachers, right now at 10%. Special ed teachers are 5%. Looks like, I think everyone has voted actually. So mostly it's building and district administrators. Okay, thank you. And classroom teachers. Nope, and curriculum specialists and specialists. All right, thank you. Now I have to figure out how to get rid of the poll, right? There we go. So the first thing I want to do is take you to our resource site. All the documents from today, plus a lot more documents, are out here that you can use. So I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint right now and go to demonstratedsuccess.com. If you log on to demonstratedsuccess.com, and you can do this now, I'll give you a chance to do this right now. And once you're in there, you're going to click on member login, which is up here. I already have a login, so I don't have to log in, but you'll get a screen. If you've never logged in, you will get a screen where you have to enter your name and password, and there's a little question mark. There are some instructions there on how to do that. If you can't even find that, there actually is a handout that's called Login and Add Consortium Help. That document will show you how to do that. I said I was going to give you time, but I'm probably going to keep moving here. So once Once you do get in, you can go to resources and discussions right here. And right now I'm in the Performance Plus resource. I'm going to switch over. Pretty much everybody has access to that. I'm going to switch over to the DS Professional Development resource, which is where the information from today will be. And it keeps moving on me, so we will fix that. So here's the webinar. Analyze your results. If you click there, these are some more documents you can use. You can either get them today or use them after today when we're working on this. And if you get stuck on that, Karen is here to answer questions. I am going to go back to the PowerPoint now.
I am being notified that the screen is still showing the poll.
Oh, thank you. Somebody is telling me that the screen is still showing the poll. Let's see. Thank you.
It should not be now.
Is it? Yes. Did it?
Can someone write in and just let me know?
So as I said, if you are struggling to get onto this site.
Wait, hold on, everybody. Okay, that worked.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering. If you're struggling to get onto the site, remember that in your control panel, under the handouts, one of them is log in and add consortium help. So you can use that to get on either now or later. Today we're going to talk about understanding the SAS data or the format of the results. I'm going to show you different platforms where you can see the data. There are 4 or 5 places. Yes, you have another question?
Yeah, I love the interaction. Thanks, everybody. You might want to just go quickly back to our site. Because the poll was up, I think folks didn't get to see.
Okay, I will do that. I'm going to get out of here.
Thank you.
And go back to the site. And maybe I will start over. So I'm going to type in demonstrated success and come to this main screen. I'm already logged on, so when I go to member login, I'm not going to have to log in, but you will. Where it says enter your name and your ID, there's a little question mark. If you hover over the question mark, the instructions will show up. If you can't get that far, that information is on the handouts on the webinar control panel. So once you're at our site, you could go to resources and discussion up here. And this is the consortium, we call it, the group that we'd like that the information for today will be on. You can go to some others. You'll have some other choices. One of them is probably Performance Plus. And you just switch back and forth depending on which you want to use. And it's DS Professional. And the webinars, it's going to move again. It's this. We have to get this fixed. So you slide down, find webinar, and it's analyze your 2019. If you click on that, these are the documents that are out there right now.
On the control panel.
They are also on the control panel, but there are some extras out here like these two. This is the standards for math and the standards for ELA. They're not out there. They're not on the handouts. Okay. Back to the PowerPoint. And we can walk you through that again when you're ready for some more. But right now, for the webinar, you really only need to use the documents that are attached to the webinar. So I'm going to walk you through the format or the layout of the SAS data. And that sounds kind of boring, but you really need to know it in order to understand what your reports are saying. And we'll look at 2 different platforms that you can use to look at the data. And then I'm going to talk about some ways that you can start to look at the data to improve instruction, to reach your goals. So the structure of the SAS results. First thing, there are these 4 areas, and I'm going to refer to them often because this is related to the structure and the reporting and the scores and everything. So you know that there's subject. We have subject. The next level down is reporting category, clusters, and the smallest detail part is standards. And for subject, you know, I'm sure that we have ELA, math, and science, and you probably know the grades that are associated with each of those. There are handouts for these on, I couldn't put them on the website, on the web what is this, on the webinar. They were too big to put on the webinar, but they are on our website, or you can get the Common Core standards on the corestandards.org website. The Next Gen standards, you actually have to go to the Next Gen site. But looking at the data without your standards, looking at the SAS data without your standards isn't going to get you very far. So you really do need to have access to, or right in front of you, copies of these standards. After the subject, the next detail down is the reporting categories, and luckily, the SAS assessments follow the standards pretty well. There's a reporting category. These are the reporting categories for math and ELA. There's a document. Did I put that out there? Yes, reporting categories is one of the handouts. It's just a list of all the different groupings of questions or buckets that points are going to go into. Students will get questions related to informational text and literature and speaking and listening. For math, operations and algebraic thinking. So reporting categories are beneath the subjects. And if you're looking at your standards, this is what they look like. It's the reading standards for literature, reading standards for informational text. For math, it's things like operations and algebraic thinking, numbers and operations in base 10, depending on your grade, expressions and equations. They're different for each grade. Underneath reporting categories are clusters. So questions will relate to the clusters and standards. The clusters are the next level down. So if these are the standards for reading standards for literature, the first cluster for grade 3 and 4 is key ideas and details. The next cluster is craft and structure. And when they say cluster, it's a cluster of standards. So these 3 standards, standard 1, 2, and 3, belong to key details and ideas, or key ideas and details. Any question related to any one of these standards, however many points a student gets for those questions, will be put into a standards bucket, a cluster bucket, and then a reporting category bucket. And same for math. We've got clusters and standards. And it follows the standards document exactly. It makes it easy that way to figure out what they're doing with all the data. So now we've got, the different reporting categories or different areas of groupings, the structure of the data. And now I'm going to talk about the scores and the levels. And some of this you will definitely already know. The subjects, when we get scores back for students, they either have a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. And if you look at one of the handouts, is called cut scores and achievement levels. That's this document right here. It will describe each of the levels. So level 4 is the highest, and according to the SAS, it's highly proficient in applying the standards. Level 3 is proficient. Level 2 is approaching this. You'll see on the document. Actually, I can't see it, so I don't remember. But level 1 is the lowest, 2, 3, 4, and it's always been that way since the kneecaps. So I'm sure everybody's used to that. At the bottom of that document are the cut scores for the subjects. And every student will get a score. They'll have a number score, and they will have an achievement level, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next level down, reporting categories. This time there are only 3 levels. So we don't have 1, 2, 3, and 4 now. We only have 1, 2, and 3. And those 3 categories are on or above, at or approaching, and below. And I usually at this point get a question about what's the difference between on and at. And I have to tell you, I don't know. On or above is higher than at or approaching. Sorry, that's all I can tell you. So for each student, we will get a score for that. We'll get, here are the students. You like my student names? And they get a score, a high. This would be the highest. This is the lowest. This is in between. So this would be a 3, a 1, and a 2. Or on or above, at or near, and below. And we'll get that for every student for reading, math, and some science. we'll also get it this way. And this 4 level for the subject and 3 level for the clusters can cause some confusion. And this is what happens. If I could actually have a student who's a level 3 next to a student who's a level 2, and my level 3 student or my level 2 student got 3 at or nears, 3 number 2s on the clusters, and my level 3 student got 2 level 2s and a 1, which sounds like it's lower. But what happens is there are 4 levels for the subject, so a student could fall in here or here or here or here. But for the 3 levels, it kind of gets a little blurry when it comes to the edges. So one student could get, on the reporting categories, could get very low reporting category scores and end up being a 1. Or they could get all very high reporting scores at the level 2 and be a level 4. So that can get really confusing. In the end, it doesn't make that much of a difference, but if you want more of an explanation, please ask, and either we can go through it more, or if enough people ask, or I can talk to you after. Either way. Clusters will now come, they also come in 4 levels, but it's not 4 levels of below, at or near, on above, or proficient. It's the number of points that they get correct compared to the number of points that they were presented with. If a student has 6 points of questions on a particular cluster and he gets 3 correct, he will be in the 50th percentile. And I'll show you that right here. So for cluster, here's a key ideas and details cluster. This student got 9 out of 10. So that's pretty good. So he was a 90 and will end up in the blue. This student got 7 out of 10. It's a 70 and he or she will end up in the green. This student ended up with only half of the points and ended up in the yellow. So the clusters are scored based on the number of points the student received against the number that he or she was given. And remember, the test is adaptive, so every student will get a different number of points for the clusters. Am I totally confusing everybody? Another way you can look at clusters is this way, and it'll give you standard information. You can look at the standards and the cluster. So the yellow is the cluster. This is the reporting category, and these are the standards. If you look at this report, this will tell you, I'll show you how to use this later, but right now, with the there's this minus sign, probably means that this is the lowest cluster. And this would be the lowest standard. And I move. So again, we've got subject, reporting category, clusters, and standards. I'm going to further confuse you. Is anybody saying they're totally confused, or are you so confused you can't even ask a question?
Oh, let's see. So one person wants to know if there's a handout for this. Is there a handout attached?
Not attached for this, no, but it is in the document. But it is in the on our website. And the website has the PowerPoint. Is that the only question?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to further confuse you. We talked about subjects, and those are above, near, below, and they're all related to knowing the standards of proficiency. Then there are reporting categories, which I told you were reported in 3 levels, but they're also reported in 4 levels. So this is where you get like, what? This document, these are the reporting categories. We looked at this a minute ago. And if you look at these reporting categories here, I'll make them a little bigger. These 2, reading informational text and reading literature, do not have asterisks, and these do. So they're different. So reading informational text and reading literature, you're going to get 2 ways. You're going to get the 3-level version, which is on or above, at or near or low. And you're going to get the point version. So how many points did this person have for this reporting category? He or she had 9 or 10 and got 9 right, 5 and got 4 right. So you're going to get reading informational text and reading literature 2 different ways. You are going to get the other 3 reading or ELA reporting categories only with the 4 levels. You're not going to get 3 levels on this. You're not going to get at or near or below. on these. It's going to show you how many points the student could have gotten and how many they did get correct. Does that make sense to anybody?
It seems to make sense to everyone.
Okay. And then we go to standards. The Performance Plus in Performance Plus, you can't get standard results. In the ORS, you can't get cluster results. So you've got to weigh which way you're going to look at things. Standards, this is the document we just looked at. When you're looking at this document, here's a minus sign, equal. So this is the weakest area along with this one as compared to the rest of the students in the group that you're looking at. You can't get a standards report for a student, only a group of students. If this is a class level, then this is the lowest area for your class. If it's grade, this is the lowest area for your grade, etc. If it's the whole school, lowest for the school. And this will show you whether they were the three categories, at or near, on or above, or below for that standard. So to recap this whole scoring section, for ELA, math and science, students are going to be either a level 1, 2, 3, or 4. For each of the reporting categories, they'll be below, at or approaching, or on or above, but they will also be able to see the number of points, which actually can be really useful. I'll show you, or it can be useful and confusing. I'll show you in a little while. And for clusters, we will get the points. Standards, you get this information only from the ORS. Clusters, you only get in Performance Plus. Okay, I'm going on to the next section, so it would be great if somebody, I'm sure that's confusing, unless you know it already. So if you have a question, please ask. I'm going to move on to...
Everyone's okay?
Okay, different tools that you can use to look at these results, and you probably already know them. You probably know the first one, but these are the different tools that you can use. ORS, which is on the portal, Performance Plus. There's a new platform called iPlatform from the DOE site, same with I4C, and then there are other places on the DOE website when we can look at reports. I'm not going to talk about the DOE site reports. I'm just going to talk about looking at the results in the ORS, which is probably where most people have already looked, and looking at results in Performance Plus, because they are different. You get different information out of them. Oh, I have another poll. Let's see. Let's see if I can make this work. Oh, that didn't work. That's not what I wanted. Sorry about that. Here we go. So I just want to know how many of you have used Performance Plus, how many have used the ORS in the New Hampshire portal, and how many have used iPlatform in the DOE website, the new one. Oh, numbers are coming in. So 75% have used Performance, 80%, 75. Most people have used the Performance Plus. Half have used the ORS, and some have even been to the iPlatform. Of course, I can't tell who's used all three or two of them, but great. Okay, so everybody has some experience with this. And let's see if I can just close this. Good. Thank you.
Close it.
What? Yes, I did. I think I did. So first I'm going to go over the ORS. I can actually go live with this, so that's what I'm going to do. We have a test version of this, and that's what I'm going to use. So when you're going to the ORS, you go to newhampshireportal.ars.org. This is the same place that the students take the test. I'm going to go home so we can see where we start. And when you first log on, this is where you come. Test administration, it's the only place I've ever clicked a link on this page. So I go to test administration to administer the test, look at questions, training, tied. But for this, I want to look at the ORS, the online reporting system. And make sure I'm on the test one. Okay. And it, for some reason, sends me back here. I don't know why that is. And then I have to come back to online reporting system. And then it asks me to log in. So you have to have an ID to log in. And I'm going to look at score reports. In order to look at students, you have to have access to the students.
Your
What?
live screen cannot be seen.
My live screen, what does that mean? Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Thank you, whoever's mentioning that. Nope. Still can't see it, can you?
You're still seeing this. They're
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah, I can see what you see.
Yep, we're on it.
How does that happen? Hold on one sec. We'll get there, I think. I don't actually know how to fix that, do you? I have no idea.
What's that there? Didn't I go up and get tech help?
No, I'll just.
Oh.
Well, that's my
That's
screen,
your screen.
yeah.
What's that?
I don't know. No. Karen's pointing all these things on my computer. I'm like, I don't know what that is on the control panel. I'm going to get out of this. No, it's all right, Karen. I'll just, oh, there, now you can. Magic. Okay, so now I'm going to have to, I'll go back.
Let us know if there's a problem. You've been
Start
great. Thank you.
At the New Hampshire portal, nh.portal.aras.org. Go to test administration, online reporting system. And I had already logged on, and this is where I come. Right now, we're going to look at the score reports. Click on that. This is test data, so you can actually see I have almost no students in here. And they all did really badly. I'm going to switch to last year. There's a little bit more data in there. So if you look at this, I've got 3 through 8, grades 3 through 8, and 5, 8, and 11 for the science. This, if you've been into the ORS reporting, this, I'm sure you've seen this. This is the number of students tested and the percent proficient for each grade. Now, if you want to dig a little deeper, you click on either the number or the percent. I'll click on the number. And that will give me, hopefully yours will look a little better than this because mine are all terrible. But here's the key: level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So I've got 92% of my students were level 1 and 8% were level 4. And this is the number of students, 11 and 1. This is for New Hampshire, this is for my district, and I have 2 schools in my district. Next, if I want to dig a little deeper, I can click on here or here, either one. And this little menu will pop up, and this is really how I go from report to report. If I want to see, let's see, right now I'm looking, let me move this down. Yeah, I'm going to cancel it. I'm looking at the math for 3rd grade. I want to dig a little deeper, math for 3rd grade, and I want to look at students and for the subject. I'm going to view. And these are how each of my students did. You can see their SASID, their score, and their achievement level. If I, for some reason, don't want to see their name, I can just get rid of it. Or I can keep it and get rid of the SASID, whatever I want. Okay, I want to dig a little deeper. I'm going to click on this again. I was looking at student, and I want to look at reporting categories. View. Now I can see they didn't do very well today. So here's this student called Demo. She did really badly on every single reporting category, and this is math. Now, I know in math there are actually 5 reporting categories, so I can't see them all, and I can tell that. So I am going to get rid of the SASID or the SSID so I can see it. There it is. Now I can see that. I'm going to get rid of the scale score because I don't really know what it means without the cut score list. There. Now I can see all 5 reporting categories very clearly. I want to go down another level. I want to see how they did on standards. So I want to see students standards, but as you can see, it switches me out of that. It's going to just give me the standards for my class or for my group. I'm actually looking at school right now. So these are the standards. This is how my class did on the standards. So as you can see, they did really, they did really badly because here's the proficiency level. But I got an equal in there, so that doesn't really make sense, except that this is comparing my group to my group. So this is this standard right here. My group did as well as they did on any part of the test. They did a little bit lower here, they all scored poorly here. So it's kind of, but they all scored poorly, but these were a little bit stronger. You could look at the cluster with the most minus signs maybe and talk about which cluster you might need to work on. Here's one that's got a lot of minus signs. So that's really about all you can see in the score reports. You can switch grades, you can switch subjects, you can look at subjects, reporting category, or standards for teachers, students, or rosters. One thing that I know people want to do is look at the individual student reports. To do that, you have to actually go to the student level. So I'm going to go to reporting categories and then students, view, and go up to this print. Do I want to print this page or the reports for all the students in this group? And I want to print them for the students in this group. Print. My download has been queued and I'll receive an email when it's ready. It's going to my inbox, which is right here. And sometimes it will say inbox and you're going to think it's in your mail, but it isn't. It's in the inbox of the ORS. Click on the inbox of the ORS. This is the report, I think. Let's see. I download it and open it up, and I will get a report on each of my students. Here's my demo student. So these are the reports that go home. And this is all math. You can also do the same thing with reading, with ELA, I'm sorry. I can't see that X. Hold on, I'm going to get out of this, clicking on the X. The other thing that I'm going to go back to that another time. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, skip down a few slides. We talked about that one. So I just very quickly went through the ORS and how to use it. There is an ORS user guide. You can get it from the portal or you can get it from our site right here. I uploaded the user guide for you there. I'm going to show you now how to use Performance Plus, and I'm not going to do it live. I'm going to just show you some slides. So anybody who has used Performance Plus before probably knows that it can be very frustrating. I've been using it for a long time and I still get very frustrated, but I know that it is very powerful. It can do a lot of things. So that's what makes it a little harder to use. But Mike Schwartz has done some magic for us and already created some reports. This year's reports won't be ready till Friday, but last year's reports are there and I'll use those as examples. So he has created folders. If you go to your report module, reporting module in Performance Plus, and this is it right here, you click here, you'll see a bunch of folders. And the first one is all grades. So when you get there, here's the all grades. You've got third grade, fourth grade. He puts one out for every single grade. So there are summary reports, there are individual reports, and there are grade level reports, school level reports. You can only see the students that you have rights to see. So if you are a teacher and you only have rights to your students, if you click on the district report, you're only going to get your students. So it is secure. These three, there's one by building, you can look at IEP and LEP. The pie chart reports will compare the last 3 years. I can look at reporting categories. I can look at detail for grades, detail for students. The best way to learn about these reports is to go in and play with them. Here is a comparative report by grade. So this is third grade overall, fourth grade overall. And if I'm the superintendent, I have access to a whole bunch of schools. Each line is one of my schools. Blue in this case is level 4, level 3, level 2, and level 1. All my students who scored a level 4 will be in this bucket, so 28.8% of them, and so on. So I can quickly look and say, oh, wow, look how much better this school did than this school. They have way more green, way less red. This one has very little red. Oh, here's one with green. And I just want to know. I just want to get some idea. I can click on these bars when I'm in Performance Plus and drill down to see who the students are. This report is the IEP and LEP compared to students who are not IEP and LEP in the district and the state. Same thing, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. The pie chart, this is what the pie charts look like. This is 2018, 2017, 2000. So this year we'll get 19, 18, 17. And you can compare third grade and third grade. So, if we look at these two, 30 students, or whatever the percentage is, are in the green, which is a level 3. So the green and the blue together are proficient. The green and the blue together are proficient. So you can look at that and see how each grade did. And here we have detail for students. Each line is a student. So here's the ELA overall score, how they did on the reading, informational text. This is an old report. This is from back. How they did on each of the reporting categories, and then the clusters. I'm going to skip this one. Again, there are Performance Plus documents out in the Performance Plus consortium. So you'd actually have to switch from the DS, I don't remember what that one's called. Resources, and go to the Performance Plus, and you'll have all these pre-recorded webinars and instructions on how to use Performance Plus. How are we doing for questions?
We're doing great on questions.
Like we have a million?
No.
Okay. Protocols to look at data. So when you're looking at, some people love to look at data, some people hate to look at data, some people are really, really quick, and some people are really, really slow. But you want everybody to look at data. You don't want to overwhelm people. You want to make sure that the data is usable, and there's a way to look at it. So we have some protocols that we like to follow. And they're pretty much, you can use them for any level of data team. Many schools have district data teams, school data teams, and grade level data teams. Some schools just have grade level, some just have district. They're all different. And they all would have different responsibilities, as you can see on this slide here. These are the first two pieces of the protocol, or actually not the first two. There are some norms documents. As when your team first meets, you should come up with some norms for your team and some roles. So who's going to be the note taker, who's going to be the whatever, who's going to bring the snacks, that's the most important role. Who's going to keep track of artifacts. So you'll have the norms and the roles set up before. Then now let's say it's the middle of the year and you're going to look at some data. We have this longer document, and they are, I have not attached them to the Demonstrate Success site, but I will do that. They'll be out there. This is the long one that really explains each step, and this is just a shorter version that each participant can use. There are 4 or 5 phases. The first phase, you just predict what you're going to see. You don't have the data yet. Somebody will explain what you're going to get. You're going to get third grade math, and you'll see each student. And everybody will silently think about what do they think they're going to see, and then they talk about what they think they're going to see. And this can get rid of some biases. It can get you thinking about the data, so it gets you in the right frame of mind, and it just gets things moving. After you do the prediction, you will look at the data. The leader or the person who brought the data will give you the data, and silently you observe the data. You try very, very hard not to say, oh, that's because Susie was sick, or that's because Mrs. Smith was out for 7 weeks, or we got a new math program. You try not to say that. It's very hard to do, and I would say almost never happens. But when you're looking at the data, you're just looking at and going, oh, 50% of my students scored proficient on this cluster, or 90% of my students were proficient in English. You're just looking at what's on the data. The next phase is inferring. Why do you think these things happened? Why did so many students do well in math this year? Why did so many students not do well in reading informational text? And based on that discussion, you will come up with some implications for practice. So based on what you think the reason is, and we never know for sure, you will come up with some steps that you're going to follow in order to improve your results or to get some stronger student learning. In that phase, you'll come up with some kind of SMART goal. We're really strong believers in coming up with attainable, measurable goals. So we use the SMART goal format. And the end of the protocol is looking back and talking about how that went and did it help. Here's a SMART goal form. I'll put this one out too. I haven't done it yet. This is how you would create a goal, a SMART goal. I'm going to have you look at this for a minute. So here's some data. We can't really do the prediction phase because if it's not your data, you can't really predict. So I'm going to give you this data. I want you to observe it. What does anyone notice? So if you look at it for a minute, you can start sending in what you notice. And you don't have to do it silently. You can just start typing. So what do you notice?
One or two more minutes.
Not even that long. Just, what do you notice here? What?
I see some good input.
Okay, I see someone said, I noticed that third grade went up and then down. So yeah, that's true. Their scores went up and then down.
Someone else wrote that fourth grade math went from, so this group of students, they said, let me see, it says they went from 39% to 35% to 26%. And that was...
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Significant, I guess.
Yep, so that is low. So look at this here's a group that was a fourth grade group. Then they went to fifth grade and they went to sixth grade, and their math is low and increasingly lower. So that, I'd want to do, who knows why that is, but we would want to just look at the data for a minute. Seventh grade is going steadily up. Where's seventh grade? Yep, 44, 48, 52. Oh, that's a good thing. Very good. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. What else? Eighth grade is pretty low, up and down, inconsistent. Yep.
You got seventh grade.
Yeah. So that's what you do. That's the first, when you're observing data, that's what you do. You just look at it and note things. The next step would be, why? Why is this happening? And you come up with ideas. Why is this happening? I don't, seventh grade, there are only 3 students. And so, two of them miss it and the score is low, whatever the reason is. Or for the high, for the one that went up, where's the one that went up every year? Seventh grade, they got a new math program, or they wrote their own, or whatever the reason you think is. Whatever happened here, you might want to look at and say, oh, whatever they're doing is working. Let's try and make that happen in other grades. So that's how you inform instruction with that. You write a goal and you put together a plan. Okay, we move to the final little section here. So this is examples of where to start, which is always, that's the question. Where do I start with all this information? I've got so much data. What do I do? So using data in the ORS or Performance Plus, you can use it either way, but you do want to use them a little differently. A lot of people call and ask how they can use the SAS results to inform instruction for RTI or for intervention for individual students. And my answer, well, I'm going to go back. These are the 2 ways. Looking at individual students or looking at a group of students or a whole subject or a whole grade. If you're going to look at individual students, this is not the best data to do that with. This is really, truly a summative assessment. It is also formative for a grade, but it is not formative for individual students. And for example, this numbers and operations in base 10 and fractions. I could sort my students by the number and operations in base 10 and fractions and put them into groups based on that. But this encompasses so many, like probably for some grades, probably 20 standards. It's just too big to attack. Another reason is this, which this is like a little messy report, but you've got numbers and operations base 10 and numbers and operations base 10 and fractions. So this is the 3 level and this is the 4 level with the percentages. This is a cluster and these are the clusters underneath that reporting category. If you look at this, these 2 students here, here's one and here's one. Both of them got a 1. They got 1 right, 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 6. Your gut would say this student is the weakest, but this student only had 3. What if they had 6 questions? You don't know how he or she would have done with 6 questions. So your instinct would be the yellow is higher because the yellow is higher. It's a level 2 and this is a level 1, but we don't really know if this student was actually stronger. Another example is these 2 students. This student got 2 out of 2 for 100%. This one got 2 out of 5 for 40%. So this is a level 4 and a level 2. So if you group students by the way this is reported and calculated and collected, you're just not going to get a true picture of what your students' needs are, individual students' needs are. So this is not the data to use for individual students, but it is the data to use to inform instruction for grade levels or subjects. And this is one of the reports that can help you with that. This is a Performance Plus report. It's one of the ones that Mike makes and will send to you. This is 6th or 7th grade, I'm not sure. I'm gonna, here's a reporting category and these are the clusters. And if you look at this report, you could look at it and go, okay, blue is high, red is low. How did my students do? What would I pick? What was the strength? I'm going to go to the next screen. What was the strength for my students? Anybody want to take a stab at that? What was the strongest area?
Somebody just wrote in they can't see the labels.
I took the labels. The labels were on here. You can't read them because P Plus wraps them, but you could take the 4th one down, the 3rd one down.
Let me look.
Yeah.
Oh, and somebody wrote in the area strength is the 5th one down. Does that make sense?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this one is not the strongest. I might say this one was a little stronger. There are fewer red and a few more green here, blue and green, but there are a lot of blue.
Someone asked in why there wouldn't be any green.
The reason there aren't any green is this is level 4, level 2, and level 1. And remember, this is based on the number of points. If this is a 2-point cluster, the max points that anybody could get would be 2 points. If I got both points wrong, or both questions wrong, I would have a 0, and I would be in the 0 to 25% group. If I got both right, I would have 2 out of 2 for 100%. If I got only 1 right, I would be 50%, which will put me here. I can't be in the 51 to 75% with only 2 points. So this particular cluster only has a possibility of getting 2 points. But I would say this might be one of the strongest areas. So some people are saying that anyway.
Is that the 4th one
or
down?
this one down. Yeah, the 4th one down.
Yep, I got in
Okay.
3rd and 4th.
Okay, 3rd and 4th. Okay, so it's actually reason about and solve one-step equation. So great, we did really well with that. Now, what wasn't strong? This would be probably the weakest area. It's got the most, or this one. This one has, this one has the most red. This one might be the weakest area, actually. And I might want to work on that. I might want to talk, the teacher, if I'm a 3rd grade teacher and we're looking at this data, or I'm a 7th grade teacher, or a principal, or whoever I am, I'm looking at this data going, this is the area that my teachers need to work on. And the thing that I hear a lot, since we're looking at 5th grade data at the end of 5th grade, these 5th grade students aren't going to be here next year. Why are the teachers going to work on this when it was related to these students? What I found after looking at this data for a few years is that if this was the lowest area this year, it was probably the lowest area last year, and it was probably the lowest area the year before. Sometimes that's just because they don't teach that unit until after the test. All you have to do is move the unit up. In a case like this, with only 2 points, I might actually move this till after the assessment. It's just not that important. So there has to be, somebody has to look at, why didn't students learn this? When you think you taught it, why didn't they learn it? You can also use the ORS report. It gives you similar information. So these are the clusters and the standards. You could pick this standard and work on it, but that's so small. It's just a very small piece to work on, but you could pick this whole cluster to work on. And that's what I would generally say to teachers. Pick your lowest cluster, or the one you want to work on, the one that's easiest to work on, the one that has the most points. Pick a cluster of standards. That's what you should work on. And when I say work on, change things. Change the way you teach it. Change what you know. Do some studying on what that standard actually means. And the points, I talked about that for a second. This document is not out there yet, but I will add it. It tells you the number of points. Let's see. Operations and algebraic thinking, 5th grade. Write and interpret numerical expressions. It's worth 5 to 10 points. This one is only worth 1 to 2 points. If this is my lowest area, I might not spend time on it. Even if all of my students got all the points possible, it wouldn't make that much of a difference in my overall test score. This would, these higher bang for your buck standards. So this cluster, there are actually standards under here. This might be something that I'd want my teachers, my 5th grade teachers, to work on.
What's the CC? I have someone who asked about the CC with the star.
So we get the SAS and the CC. SAS is the number of points the SAS assessment gives to each of these clusters. The CC is from Achieve the Core. It's Achieve the Core took these standards and grouped them, or figured out which clusters were most important to them or to the Common Core people. I don't know who the deciders were, but they were major, supporting, and additional. I don't know why this is high on the SAS and low on the Common Core, especially for this one, because I think this is a really important one for 5th grade, for 6th grade really, for 5th graders to learn. And teams have to decide, do they want to follow what the Achieve the Core people or the Common Core people say are major, supporting, and additional, or should you follow what the test is doing? That's a decision teams have to make. So once you figure out what went well and what needs work, you've got to pull out your standards. You have to have your standards in front of you and figure out if it's this cluster that's good or bad. Look at it. This cluster was great. What did we do? How did that work? What were our units? What materials did we use? Who was teaching it? Why did it go well? We want to know that. If it didn't go well, look at the standards. How did we teach this? What materials did we use? How did it happen? What didn't get across? What don't we understand as teachers? You have to look at the standards. So you have to develop a deeper understanding of the standards, and one way to do it is cluster by cluster. Use the standards and questions based on the standards for instruction. Give these questions as morning work. Use them on assessments. You can find questions. The SAS benchmark and interim assessments are a great place to find questions. So if you go into the New Hampshire portal, if you go into the New Hampshire portal and you go to assessment viewing application, you can look at sample questions for reading, writing, and science and math. And usually when I show teachers these samples of these questions, they go, wow, not all of them, but some of them, they go, wow, we don't teach that. Like, well, that's what you're supposed to be teaching. That's what the standard is the depth of the standard is these samples on these questions. You can also use the interim assessments throughout the year, or the benchmark assessments throughout the year, giving them to your students, getting them comfortable with using the computer for an assessment, getting used to logging on, especially the younger kids, 3rd grade especially, who've never taken the test. You can, when you're using the interim assessments, you can look at individual item analysis. You can look at how students answered each question. When you're looking for questions, you can search the internet for questions. You can go to the PARC or the SBAC website. Performance Plus has a content library. And one of the things you can do if you have an item analysis, if these are all the questions, you can get this type of report from the benchmark assessments. These are the questions across the top. I have a whole bunch of John Smiths. These are each individual students in my class. I've sorted the report from high to low for overall score, but then I've sorted the questions from the one that most students got correct to the one that most students got incorrect. And when I look at that, I look at the first question and I go, oh, the standard it related to was multiplying a 2-digit number by a 2-digit number. Yay, 100% of my kids got that. Yay, I did really well, or we did really well. Same with comparing two fractions. 75% of my kids got that. I knew they knew that. And here, dividing within 100. Good, I knew they knew that. Now I'm going to go look at the other side. And it's multiplying a 2-digit number by a 2-digit number. Comparing two fractions. Dividing within 100. So when we did this, the teacher said, this is dumb. The tests don't work. I have about 3 more minutes. Looking at data is stupid. But we looked and we looked. We spread all the questions out on the floor in this order. And we looked and looked, and we found out that these questions had pictures with them, and these did not. So what we had to do to work with the students was teach them how to draw pictures, not teach them how to multiply 2-digit numbers again, because they knew. But by looking at the questions in this kind of detail, we could really identify what we thought was the problem, and it actually seemed to work for this group of students and teachers. And I think that's about it. That's about all we have. We went over the structure, some tools you can use, protocol you can follow, and ideas on where to start. Do we have any questions?
Nope, no more questions.
No more questions, okay. We'll wait here for a little while. I think if I go to the next page, I have emails on here. Oops, I have mics. I don't have yours. Sorry, Karen.
It's okay.
If you have any questions, you can email us or call us. And if you also have questions, you can just stay on the line and we can unmute you when most people get off. Or you can just ask them now and we will answer you. We'll stay on for another minute or two. Thank you very much.
Okay, it seems like we're all set with questions, and we hope you enjoyed the webinar, and definitely reach out if you need anything. Mike, Ann, and I were happy to talk with you on the phone, email, and even set up a virtual meeting where we can show you how to do a few things if there's any confusion. Take care and have a great rest of the day.